My name is Jack McNeil of BaseballEssential.com. Got the Baseball Essential mug right here. We'll be at the winter meetings in just over a week from now, leaving this upcoming weekend to head down to Nashville, along with a few colleagues, including Robert Murray, if you follow him on Twitter, a great insider of baseball news. So keep up to date with the newest hot stove there. But let's get into this right away. I'm here with John Check, Jack and John, first episode of the offseason. And the Tigers, John, your team, you were known as Justin Verlander 35 on YouTube, started as talking all Tigers baseball, have just signed Jordan Zimmerman, in my mind, kind of one of the most appealing pitching candidates on the free agent market. For a while, had tremendous trade value with the Nationals, was once, one of their top pitchers, if not their best years back. This past season had a great year. And now he is 29 years old, signs a 5-year contract with the Detroit Tigers worth $110 million, a similar contract to the one Adam Wainwright signed with the St. Louis Cardinals a few years back, known as a relatively team-friendly contract. The Cardinals normally don't go outside of the free agent market to get pitchers. They sign their own pitchers and work with in-house. The Detroit Tigers go out and get Jordan Zimmerman. So what are your thoughts on that, and how does that shape the rest of the free agent market moving forward?
Well, first off, before I begin, it's the John Check Sports Media Network now. It's no longer Justin Verlander 35. Okay, I've grown as a YouTuber. So, but no, the Tigers. Al Avila last year when he took over for Dave Dombrowski came out and straight up said, hey, we expect to compete not only this year, which was a delusion because when he took over, the Tigers were like 6 or 7 games under 500 and the Royals were already owning the division. But he said we expect to compete this year and we expect to compete from years on because you look at the core of what the Tigers have. They got J.D. Martinez and Victor Martinez and Miguel Cabrera, and they got the youth and Nick Castellanos and Jose Iglesias, and they got a strong middle infield defense with Iglesias and Kinsler, and now you got some more youth in the outfield with Maben and Ghost. So they got some players there that they feel they could win with. But most of their youth stems in their rotation with your Matt Boyds and your Kyle Ryans and your Kyle Lobsteins and your Daniel Norrises and your Michael Fulmers. And Avila knows what he has for his youth, but I think what he really wanted was someone you pencil him in there every 5th day. He's going to give you 200 innings. This is a guy that's averaged 209 innings over the last 5 years of his career. This is a guy that goes out there and gives you quality start after quality start. And I think with Justin Verlander being hurt and Anibal Sanchez being hurt, relying on so many different starting pitchers last year, so many young guys, I think he wanted to go – not have to play this game like when Dombrowski signed Alfredo Simon last year. He was good for a month and a half, and then he was terrible, and then he was hit and miss every single time. And he really wasn't a proven starter option. He was a guy, he was a reliever, had a fluke half with Cincinnati, made the All-Star game, and then, was bad from the second half on. I think Avila just wanted to avoid all that and go with someone that's a proven mid-starter that didn't cost you a David Price kind of price or a Zach Greinke kind of price, and give you someone that's going to give you 200 innings. He's going to slot right to the middle, to the top, kind of top. He could be a 2 on the Tiger staff, depending on how Sanchez pitches. But someone that can fill the middle of your rotation perfectly, give you some solid depth, help out your youth, a proven starter, and you're not messing with someone like an Alfredo Simon, and you're not relying on a Matt Boyd to give you quality innings, who was proven last year during his brief stint with the Tigers, and he's very inconsistent. You don't know what you have with Michael Fulmer and Shane Green, who flamed out very quickly last year, and he can't even feel his fingertips, so who knows how he's going to be going on. He basically brings a veteran presence and brings some solidification to a rotation that was once elite, which is now clinging to someone that can give them 200 quality innings, which they didn't have at all last year.
Absolutely. Now, so for the Tigers, quickly, what is next? What is on the offseason agenda now after signing Jordan Zimmerman?
What I would like to see them do is I would like to see them fill out the back end of the rotation with one more starter, like a low-end guy, like a Doug Fister, I think would be perfect. You sign him on a 1-year pillow contract. You allow Matt Boyd and Michael Fulmer to give themselves one more year of minors in this, one more year of seasoning in the minors, and then you can develop their skill sets a little bit more. So come 2017, they have another year of experience under their belt, and they can slot right into the back of the rotation. And they definitely need a left-handed reliever, a right-handed reliever, and maybe look to go out and get a corner outfielder. And I think with the plethora of starting pitching they have now, especially young, cost-controlled starting pitching, they might trade a Matt Boyd or a Michael Fulmer or a Shane Green to go out and try to fill one of those needs.
Now let's look at the free agent market in general with some of the top free agents. him getting $110 million, Jordan Zimmerman. David Price, MLB Trade Rumors, predicts a 7-year, $217 million contract with the Chicago Cubs. Now, the St. Louis Cardinals have been linked to David Price, the Dodgers, the Cubs, plenty of other teams. I believe the Red Sox may have been linked as well. Also, the Red Sox want to trade him and Ramirez. What's new there? Getting a team to go for that will be tough. But regardless, David Price is a hot commodity, obviously. Him and Zach Greinke as well, the Dodgers and several other teams in on that. What do you think David Price is at the end of the day going to go for? Is over $200 million? Is that a for sure thing at this point? How high is the ceiling for this type of contract?
Well, when you have a guy that's been one of the best pitchers in the American League, over the last 7 years, it's undoubted he gets $200 million. If King Felix gets $180, if Justin Verlander with his incentives will make $200 million, there is no doubt in my mind David Price gets at least $210 with the way contracts have been inflating over the last couple of years with Kershaw's extension. I mean, he's not Clayton Kershaw, let's face it. No one's Clayton Kershaw. He's one of the greatest pitchers of our time. But with the way pitcher contracts, especially top-tier frontline starting pitching contracts have been over the last 5 years, David Price is at least $210 million, no doubt in my mind.
I thought what's interesting looking at kind of this whole free agent pool is the depth in pitching. And it points directly to a team that is out on the market. For the first time in free agent starting pitching for a long time, I mean, the St. Louis Cardinals have not signed a free agent starting pitcher, someone who has not grown in the organization, I believe since like Braden Looper, like 7 or 8 years ago. It was like a 3-year, $15 million deal or something. I mean, we're talking a very historic time for St. Louis Cardinal fans and the organization because they have money to spend. And Lance Lynn just went down with Tommy John surgery. They have been linked to every top starter and even top free agent available in terms of offense. Chris Davis, they're lacking power. They want some flexibility in positions. The Cardinals, they are one of the last teams in terms of run production in all of these different categories, despite being one of the best teams in baseball last year, being the best. So the offense is a big concern, especially in power. Their isolated power numbers were one of the worst as well. So the St. Louis Cardinals are lacking an offense. They're looking at Jason Hayward, someone who they traded Shelby Miller for and Tyrell Jenkins for last offseason, got Walden and Hayward. And now Hayward, who had kind of was in limbo in terms of his value. He had a great season with the St. Louis Cardinals, and he is now worth possibly $200 million, which is, he's very young, so a long-term deal could be headed his way there. And then you have someone like Chris Davis, who is kind of back and forth on his production, 1 year great, 1 year subdue. Either way, he's hitting a ton of home runs, striking out a lot. The Cardinals want that power, and they're also in on the top free agent pitchers available. That being said, this is a market where you don't need to go for the top, John. There is plenty of number 3 starters, guys like Mike Leake, Jeff Samardzija. If you were the St. Louis Cardinals and you wanted to get an offensive bat and you wanted to get a mid-tier starter, who is the bargain pick on the free agent market in starting pitching that you would go after?
Here's a name that you're very familiar with as a Cardinal fan. He wasn't good last year, and he's getting older. But John Lackey is the same age as him. Kyle Loesch. Why not bring him back? He was bad last year. He's looking to reestablish his value. He's familiar with that organization. He's thrived in that organization. Why not bring him back on a 1-year pillow contract? It's nothing but positive upside for the Cardinals. He stinks. You get rid of him. He's good. You got a starter that you already know has had success in your organization and has thrived there before. So why not go out and get a Kyle Loesch? Number 2, you got guys like Jeff Samardzija, I think, would be an outstanding fit for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's going to back to the NL, in a division he's already pitched in, so he's very familiar with it, and he's going to a pitcher-friendly park that's not, U.S. Cellular Field where the ball flies out there. So I think that would be an outstanding fit for them. Jeff Samardzija, he would be a great fit for them. And then for offensively wise, Chris Davis could be a fit there. But, if I'm the Cardinals, I already let a first baseman go who had 10 years of perhaps maybe the greatest stretch of baseball ever in history. I'm not signing a first baseman who is almost the identical age as Albert Pujols was, for an NL team for as many years as Chris Davis is going to want. You got Matt Adams at first already. Chris Davis has played third, but you got Matt Carpenter there. And you could put him in a corner outfield spot, but who knows how he's going to go. Do you want Chris Davis playing right field for you when he's 34, 35? No. Matt Adams is younger. I think they need to go find other ways for offense. I would not touch Chris Davis if I was the St. Louis Cardinals. That's just me. But there is plenty of free agent starting pitching, and those are 2 guys I would consider the most, Kyle Loesch and Jeff Samardzija.
I think those are 2 very good points. I think with the St. Louis Cardinals specifically, They do have some young starters that they could plug into a number 5 role with Marco Gonzalez, who got hurt, Carlos Martinez, who got hurt. They'll be potentially you could fill the rotation with just young guys. But for a team as competitive as the Cardinals, they're probably not going to take that risk. So, a Loesch and another pitcher might be necessary, might be not. Or maybe you just go for the big guy. In this case, what you were talking about, a Jeff Samardzija type. Looking at some of the top free agents, just a yes or no on gut reaction right now. Do you think the Dodgers re-sign Zach Greinke?
That's hard because you look at the rotation, it's very lackluster. You got Kershaw, and then Hyun-Jin Rhee was always hurt. Brett Anderson accepted the qualifying offer. You got Julio Arias in the minors, but he's still very young. And you already got a very bloated payroll, and Greinke is going to want Kershaw money if he signs back there. So I got to go no. They're going to definitely make a bid, but I got to go no.
And what do you think of the Blue Jays signing J.A. Happ? He was one of the first kind of big, substantial signings in this hot stove, as people were complaining. It was not a very hot stove like Thanksgiving, not a ton of things going on. And J.A. Happ got the 3-year contract, guaranteeing $10 million next year and $13 million the next 2 years with the Blue Jays. What are your initial thoughts on that deal? I guess its market value for Happ is Toronto the place where he can flourish the next few years?
Well, I mean, he's already pitched in Toronto once, so he has familiarity. And Happ is a guy that, he was up and down last year. When he was at the Mariners, he started out very good, then tapered off, and then got traded to the Pirates. And Searage, who's a great pitching coach, did an outstanding job. If you look at his numbers down the stretch with the Pirates, he was great. He was about as good as he gets. So, I mean, you bring him back to a place he's already pitched with, maybe with some newfound, knowledge and just stuff that Searage, got him to straighten him out, So, I mean, if you're the Blue Jays, David Price might not be a possibility with Edwin Encarnacion and Bautista coming up for contracts. So to get him at the price they got him, and a guy that showed the kind of success he had in his short run that he had with the Pirates, I mean, it doesn't hurt. I mean, if Brandon McCarthy got as much money as he did for pitching a couple good months with the Yankees, I mean, for what J.A. Happ got, that's pretty fair market value. So because it's almost like a Scott Kazmir contract a couple years ago with the Oakland A's, and it worked out great for the A's. In a couple years they did have him. So familiarity with the team, already pitched in that division. He was good in spurts last year. He's got, the stuff in him to do good. So it doesn't hurt. I mean, it doesn't hurt to test depth and add depth and to have no depth at all.
Now, another quick bit here. The Mets' number one target, the top target, is Ben Zobrist. Daniel Murphy, people kind of assume he's going to be going elsewhere in the free agent market after having a historic postseason. Truly, the Mets going to the World Series last year. Ben Zobrist, their top target. Are they headed the right direction there, and can they compete as well as they did last season? Incredible young pitching. You can only assume that gets better and bolsters the team. But are they the force to reckon with in the East, or do you think the Nationals sign someone and get back into this thing? So the first part of the question, Ben Zobrist, is he the right guy for the Mets? Second part, can they kind of hold their ground in the East next year?
Jack, I wish I could bring up my cell phone right now because there was 6 outs to go in the World Series. And I was texting a good friend of mine who's a Mets fan. I'm like, all you guys need is Ben Zobrist and Justin Upton. That's all you guys need, and you're going to win the World Series next year. Ben Zobrist is absolutely the most perfect fit for the Mets because David Wright's going to go on the DL sometime next year, so he can replace David Wright at third. He's going to give you a versatile bat at second. He can play short. Hell, he can play first. He can play outfield. He can play anywhere the Mets need him. He is the ultimate Met player that they need. So, yes, absolutely. And your second part of the question, can they compete in the NL East next year and still be as dominant? They're getting back Zach Wheeler next year and losing Bartolo Colon. They're getting even better in the pitching staff. Not only is that, Syndergaard's got a year under his belt. DeGrom had another year, a great sophomore year, so he isn't something anytime soon. Matt Harvey is just going to continue to get stronger coming back from Tommy John surgery. Noah Syndergaard's a stud. Steven Matz is a stud. And now you're adding Zach Wheeler and losing your worst starter? It's not fair.
National League. Are they the team to beat in the major leagues in your mind? Do they have the best pitching staff, or are they the number one team going into next year?
Now, here's the thing why I won't put them as the team to beat, why I think if the Cubs get David Price, they would be the team to beat, simply for the fact that it took a miracle effort by Yoenis Cespedes to propel them to the spot they need. That team is very injury-prone and has guys that you don't know what are going to do on a year-to-year basis. Lucas Duda, go hot, and then he's ice cold. David Wright gets hurt a lot. You don't have a legitimate shortstop still because Wilmer Flores isn't exactly Troy Tulowitzki. And then you look at their outfield. Michael Kadire is an albatross of a contract. Juan Lagares is a glove-first guy. Curtis Granderson had a good year with the stick this year power-wise, but who knows what you're going to get out of him, and you can only expect so much out of Travis d'Arnaud. Now, they are losing some pieces out of their bullpen as well, like Tyler Clippard and whatnot. So I think that might hold them back. Now, their pitching staff is what's going to propel them, because we saw teams like the Giants, who won 3 World Series in 5 years, win solely on a pitching staff. Now, and their bullpen does have pieces in place, but you have a lot of inconsistencies on their offensive side of the ball that would hinder me from going, hey, they're the team to beat. But for a pitching staff-wise, there's no team in a better position than the Mets. Now, if the Cubs get David Price, that, to me, would put them over the top, because Lester, Price, Arrieta, on top of a team where all their stars are 25 years or younger and excelling at the pace that they're excelling at, I just can't put it past them, because they do everything well. The only thing they have questions of is the back end of their bullpen. That is legitimately it. So that would be the only thing that keep me from making them the absolute favorites.
Now, you mentioned the Chicago Cubs. If they sign Price, in your mind, they're the team to beat. So using that logic, have they already kind of surpassed the Cardinals in that Central? It's a very tough division. The Cardinals were better on paper record last year, lost to them in the postseason. They've always kind of held, at least recently, they've been better than the Cubs, of course. The Cubs have been growing, young team. Cardinal fans, you know that the Cubs are going to surpass in the next 2 years when they're more mature, but they got a lot farther than people thought this year. Going into next year, are the expectations reversed, or do you think the Cardinals will hold their own and be right up there with the Cubs up until the postseason, find a way to make the postseason along with the Cubs? Do the Cardinals need to make a move? Do they feel the pressure for the Cubs and have to make a big move this offseason outside of getting a starting pitcher? Do they need to get a starting pitcher and a star to keep up with the Chicago Cubs? Are they that big of a threat in your mind?
Obviously, Cardinal fans have to be feeling, because the Cubs, a team that was absolutely terrible the year before, won nearly 100 games, and we're only a couple games behind them. And if you're a Cardinals fan, Matt Holliday's not getting any younger. Is Randall Grichuk this good? Peter Borges isn't a guy that's going to give you a lot of pop out of his bat. Oscar Tavares passing away absolutely stunted their future for the forward, because he was supposed to be this guy who's a 30-homer guy, be the next superstar. You don't know if you have Jason Hayward. Yachty was been getting pretty banged up the last couple of seasons. Matt Carpenter went through quite a slump, and Matt Adams was hurt, and Colton Wong really didn't use the stick as well as people thought he would at times this season. And Johnny Peralta, he was kind of pretty much your consistent guy there. And you look at your rotation, it's getting older. You do got some youth in there with Carlos Martinez, but Michael Walker really didn't have the kind of year people thought he was going to have either. So, there's a lot of question marks in there. But for me, they do need to make a move to keep up with the Cubs. But here's the thing with me. Every single year, the Cardinals are good. You think they're going to regress, but they're good. The Cubs, you don't go being a sub-80 win team and winning in 97 games and not digress some. Youth, with that much youth, that much inexperience, guys are going to fall back down to earth a little bit. And I want to see where their settling point is before I say, hey, the Cardinals or the Cubs are going to be now forever leapfrogging the Cardinals the next couple of years, because you just don't know where the water's going to sit. Is this how they're going to be? Is Chris Bryant going to be, he going to excel? Is he going to sophomore slump? How's Javi Baez going to he's going to finally stop striking out? Is Addison Russell, how's he going to be? What do they do with Starlin Castro? Their outfield's very young, and they bring back Dexter Fowler. Is Kyle Schwarber a left fielder when he's absolutely brutal? How's Miggy Montero going to be behind the plate? What are they going to do with him behind there? Anthony Rizzo. So there's a lot of, he's a consistent, so you got him. But there was a lot of players that Kyle Schwarber, look at his second half when he got called up. The guy was hitting home runs like crazy. So can he be that guy for an entire season? How can Addison Russell be an entire season? How's Jorge Soler going to be for an entire season? You just don't know. So there's a lot of question marks. But with the Cardinals, you're like, look, 100 games this year, 90, 90, 90, 90. There's consistency there. But I still think that the Cardinals right now, if you had to write it in stone, they're trailing the Cubs, and they do need to do something based on aging players that they have, like aging superstars like your Matt Hollidays, injuries that they're facing yet again. And with the Cubs' talent and the Cubs' youth and the stuff and the players they have in place, they are trailing the Cubs by a margin, not by a huge margin, but they are trailing the Cubs, and they do need to do something to propel them over the top to go, look, this is still our division. We're the Cardinals. We're going to keep winning. So, yeah, I guess they are trailing the Cubs.
Okay, so the Cardinals need to make some moves to keep up with the Chicago Cubs. There's still plenty of top free agents available. We're just getting started. The hot stove. Jordan Zimmerman just signed with the Tigers with the Blue Jays on a 3-year contract, setting kind of the market value. Tons of mid-tier and top pitchers available. We'll see if the Yankees get heavily involved. The Red Sox want to trade Hanley Ramirez and want to get back in this with Dombrowski taking a whole different model there in Boston. So, John, episode was sort of all over the place. Part of that is the fact that this is just the beginning. There's so much to talk about in the different directions. So there'll be better narratives set in place once we kind of get a better feel for the offseason. But right now, the biggest question is Randall Grichuk really that good? That's what I picked up from this.
He's good. Hey, you know something? If I'm an Angels fan, I'm extremely angry that we traded Randall Grichuk because look at my outfield. I have Cole Calhoun and Mike Trout and C.J. Cron. You're telling me they would not want – Grichuk's got a good glove. He's a sneaky glove guy. Would you rather have Grichuk, who has some pop, Trout, and Calhoun out there over, C.J. Cron? I would rather have Grichuk. I'm just saying right now. So and they didn't get much out of that trade. They got David Freese. What did David Freese do? He didn't even hit 20 home runs in 2 years with the Angels. He was terrible. And he wasn't even good defensively. So that's a bust trade. The Cardinals won that one by a long shot.
Cardinals have been winning trades. Not necessarily winning, but not losing trades more recently. They gave Joe Kelly to Boston, right? And Alan Craig, 2 guys that had some potential, and Craig had some phenomenal years. And they got John Lackey at a ridiculous rate. I mean, minimum salary, and he was incredible. So they've been doing some smart deals recently, but their minor league system has gone a little thin compared to a few years ago. They still got some pitchers available. One of their pitchers, their top pitcher, suspended again for marijuana. Those kids in their pot nowadays.
That's so stupid.
Tons of flaws in the minor league system with how they deal with drug testing, actually, because major league, you have the unions. You don't really get in trouble for marijuana like you would do in the minor leagues. Not suggesting to do it, not advocating for it, but the Cardinals losing now with their top prospect of the first 50 games. He's a player of the year for the St. Louis Cardinals and the pitcher of the year, I might add. But we'll end it there, Johnny Boy. Baseball Central mug. I don't think we have it in the shop, but if you go to baseballcentral.com, I believe we have some T-shirts up there.
That Kershaw one's the best. You saw the K. Kershaw shirt? The best one.
Yeah. Fantastic. I'm glad you like that, John. That's a shout-out. That is testimonial from John Check. I'm going to pull you up on the screen there. You like the Kershaw shirt.
The Kershaw shirt's the best one. If I had $25, I'd buy it right now. That's a bargain.
It is a bargain. You heard it here first from someone, not myself. It is a bargain. So we will be at the winter meetings in a week and a half, I want to say, leaving this week at some point. But yeah, whatever. 2 weeks from now, the winter meetings will be going on in Nashville. We'll be covering it. We will have a lot of coverage there for you. So stay tuned. This is going to be called Tigers Signed Jordan Zimmerman, but really it was a bunch of other things. We are just getting started in the hot stove. Enjoy the week. Enjoy the holidays up to Christmas. And, John, we are signing off. Hopefully we get another episode sooner than the few months we had off. So
Sounds good to me, Jackie boy.
Yeah. John Check. You're on Twitter, right, John?
Yep, at John Check.
Simple. Mine's a little more confusing. At Jack McNeil 44. I don't have too many followers. So I will follow back. I'm not going to guarantee that. I'm not going to be one of those people. Follow for follow.
You follow back. Not a part of that one.
I'm not really part of that. No, I'm a little more selective than that. The ratio is a bit more off. Probably why I don't have many people following me. But anyway, enjoy your guys' night and comment what you want your team to do this offseason. It is early, but never too early to start thinking about your dream line. That is all for Baseball Central. My name is Jack McNeil. I'm joined with John Check. It's been Jack and John. Thanks.